For centuries, Ukrainian women have profoundly shaped global culture, fashion, and the visual arts. Figures such as Marie Bashkirtseff, Varvara Karinska, and Sonia Delaunay achieved international renown, yet their Ukrainian origins frequently remain overlooked or obscured within mainstream cultural history. While their genius defined pivotal global trends and artistic eras, their creative foundations were inextricably linked to Ukraine. Today, it is vital to illuminate the true cultural identity of these extraordinary women, reclaiming their place in global history as distinctly Ukrainian visionaries. The Ukrainian women have conquered the world of Ballet and Hollywood. Varvara Karinska was a Ukrainian-American designer of unique film and ballet costumes who developed the modern ballet tutu and became the first Ukrainian woman to win an Oscar Academy Award. Karinska was born in 1886 in Kharkiv into the family of a millionaire merchant, Andriy Zhmutsky, who traded in manufactured goods and was prominent among the wealthiest entrepreneurs of the region. Notably, it was he who initiated and partially founded the construction of the Annunciation Cathedral in Kharkiv. From an early age, the daughter of the textile magnate demonstrated a keen interest in fabrics and embroidery. Raised in an environment of considerable affluence, she resided in a spacious estate and was educated and assisted by governesses, foreign language tutors, and domestic staff. In her youth, Karinska attended the Faculty of Law at Kharkiv University as a non-degree student. However, she did not pursue a career in jurisprudence, primarily due to a lack of professional interest in the field. Karinska's personal life was marked by considerable adversity. At the age of 22, she married her first husband, Alexander Moisenko, the son of a wealthy Kharkiv industrialist. Although the couple anticipated the death of their first child, Moisenko succumbed to typhus a mere 7 months after their marriage. Following on the bereavement, the young widow gave birth to a daughter, Irina, and subsequently assumed legal guardianship of Volodymyr, the infant son of her brother. Several years later, she married Nikolai Karinsky, a prominent Kharkiv criminal defense lawyer, whose son and she eventually rendered international renown. The family relocated from Kharkiv to Moscow. The Karinsky advanced his legal career, while Karinska began producing her initial fabric-based artworks, focusing on ballet themes. This period of stability was disrupted by the October coup of 1917. Amid the revolutionary upheaval, Karinsky emigrated, leaving Karinska unaccompanied with their children in Bolshevik Russia. To safeguard her family from political persecution stemming from her husband's status as a White Army official, she formalized their separation by sending him a divorce postcard, thereby permanently dissolving the marriage. To secure financial sustenance for the household, she established a dress and millinery atelier. Within this professional environment, Karinska met Volodymyr Mamontov, the son of a wealthy industrialist. Following their marriage, her new spouse provided financial assistance that enabled the 35-year-old designer to establish the ARS School of Artistic Embroidery and an haute couture fashion salon. Regrettably, this matrimonial alliance also failed to yield a harmonious relationship. Mamontov exhibited aggressive behavior, suffered from alcohol abuse, and subsequently engaged in extramarital infidelities. Concurrently, the haute couture salon underwent nationalization, and the designer was instructed to embroider banners for the Red Army. Unwilling to comply with these ideological demands, Karinska made a critical decision to escape the USSR and immigrate to Europe alongside her children. To facilitate their departure, Karinska persuaded the People's Commissar for Education, Anatoly Lunacharsky, to authorize an exhibition of Soviet embroidery in Europe. She concealed unique and antique ecclesiastical embroideries, which the authorities intended to destroy, beneath student works adorned with Soviet insignia stitched over them. Furthermore, she secured diamonds within her daughter's hat and currency within her own jacket, thereby successfully evacuating her children to Germany. Following her relocation to Paris, Karinska initiated her protracted journey towards the pinnacle of ballet fashion. There, she collaborated with the French avant-garde artist Marc Chagall, the ballet Russes de Monte Carlo, and the ballet master George Balanchine. Balanchine was profoundly impressed by the talent of the Ukrainian designer, famously referring to her as a Shakespeare of ballet costume. Karinska received a substantial volume of commissions, and her reputation was established on par with the most eminent couturiers of the era. In 1939, the designer emigrated to the United States with her children. At the New York World's Fair, she collaborated on the exhibition designs of the legendary Spanish artist, sculptor, and engraver Salvador Dali. Subsequently, she reunited with her long-standing associate, Balanchine, who facilitated her appointment at the School of American Ballet. Shortly thereafter, Karinska became the principal costume designer for the New York City Ballet, where she began creating attire for both male and female ballet dancers. Throughout her career, Karinska created over 9,000 costumes, though her definitive masterpiece remains a powder puff ballet tutu. Prior to the innovation, pantsers were heavy tutus supported by metal frames resembling umbrella spokes, which restricted movement and frequently caused injuries to partners during leaps. The Ukrainian designer conceived a lightweight, multi-layered skirt made of stiff tulle that maximized the visibility of the dancer's legs and fluttered during movement. Karinska possessed an exceptional arm-width bending, or her fabrics reflected stage lighting. By stitching together layers of tulle in varying shades, she ensured that from the auditorium the tutu appeared voluminous yet weightless. This design permanently transformed the world of ballet. Concurrently, Karinska designed costumes for various dance companies, Broadway musicals, and Hollywood films. Her garments were worn by legendary film stars such as Marlene Dietrich, Gary Cooper, Paulette Goddard, Vivian Leigh, Elizabeth Taylor, and Ingrid Wagner. In 1948, Karinska was awarded an Academy Award for her costume design in the film Joan of Arc. Initially skeptical of the project, she ultimately agreed to participate and engage in extensive historical research of the period. The designer scrutinized historical sources to achieve maximum authenticity in the garments. Together with her assistants, Karinska manually produced the attire for both of the principal characters and the extras, which significantly aided the actors in portraying their roles. Consequently, the film received 9 Academy Awards, including Karinska's accolade. Karinska lived a lone and prolific life, passing away on 18 October 1983 in New York, 3 years short of her centenary. She remained professionally active until her final days, executing her ultimate masterpiece for Balanchine's ballet Rihanna Walters by hand at the age of 91. While Paris, New York, and Moscow continued to dispute her cultural ownership, her historical and emotional allegiance remained fundamentally tied to Ukraine. A leading leader of the global avant-garde, Sonia Delaunay was an eminent Ukrainian-French artist and designer and the co-founder of Orphism. Furthermore, she achieved historical distinction as the first living female artist to be honored with a solo retrospective exhibition at the Louvre. Sonia Delaunay was born on 14th of November 1885 in Odessa into a Jewish family. Her original name was Sarah Stern, and her father was employed as a manager of a nail factory. Following her father's death, the 5-year-old Sarah Stern relocated from Odessa to St. Petersburg to reside with her maternal uncle, Henry Turk, a wealthy attorney, and his wife, Anna. The affluent yet childless couple formally assumed responsibility for her upbringing. Turk provided his niece with a comprehensive education and facilitated extensive travel throughout Europe. Upon graduating from a gymnasium in St. Petersburg, she pursued further studies in Germany at the Academy of Fine Art in Karlsruhe. At the age of 20, she moved to Paris to study at the Académie de la Palette. It was in Paris that the artist adopted her new given name, Sonia, and utilized her uncle's surname as a pseudonym. Influenced by the works of Paul Gauguin, Vincent van Gogh, and Henri Rousseau, she began executing her initial paintings, which garnered immediate enthusiasm and acceptance within the local avant-garde bohemian circles. Sonia Turk frequently spent her vacations at her Avko summer estate in Finland, where she met the prominent German art collector and gallerist Verheen Ude. On 5th of December 1908, they solemnized their marriage in London. This union was established primarily for mutual strategic benefit rather than affection. Ude successfully conceived his homosexuality, while Sonia gained unfettered access to the exhibitions he organized. Furthermore, through Ude's professional network, she established acquaintances with Pablo Picasso, Andrew Daring, and George Braque. Within a year of their marriage, however, Ude introduced Sonia to the young abstract painter Robert Delaunay at his gallery. This encounter proved definitive. In 1910, the artist married for the second time, subsequently adopting the surname that would achieve global renown in the fields of art and fashion. Together with Robert Delaunay, she co-founded Simultanism, also known as Orphism, an artistic movement characterized by juxtaposition of contrasting colors, geometric abstractions, rhythm, and dynamic movement. Sonia Delaunay first experimented with geometry and color in 1911 when she crafted a patchwork quilt for her infant son, Charles, utilizing varied remnants of fabric. This exercise of textile assembly profoundly enraged the artist. At the time, she did not anticipate that this domestic quilt would eventually be accessioned into the permanent collection of the Muséum National d'Art Moderne in Paris. By the 1930s, Delaunay had emerged as a leading figure of the Art Deco movement and an acknowledged pioneer of geometric prints and appliques in avant-garde fashion. She revolutionized the industry by introducing knitted dresses, telegraphic text and textiles, and bold accessories. Her innovative approach was highly regarded by contemporary theatres, film studios, and the Sorbonne, where she delivered guest lectures on corporate design and fashion. Driven by a desire to integrate art into public spaces, Delaunay also treated motor vehicles as mobile canvases, designing unique automotive liveries that complemented her signature textile patterns. This prolonged period of commercial success was subsequently disrupted by the Great Depression, which compelled Delaunay to close her fashion house. During the Second World War, her husband succumbed to cancer, after which she dedicated her professional focus to the preservation and the publication of his artistic memoirs. Following her donation of 117 of her own artworks to the French state, Sonia Delaunay became the first living female artist to be honored with a retrospective exhibition at the Louvre. At the age of 90, she was invested with the Legion of Honor. She remained professionally active until her death in Paris in 1979 at the age of 94. Today, her artistic legacy is valued at millions of euros, with the largest public repository of her work preserved at the Centre Pompidou. Delaunay's simultaneous style endures, continuing to inform the contemporary haute couture collections of global brands such as Chloé, Therin, Hermès, Mille and Missoni. The first Ukrainian artist acquired by the Louvre, Marie Bashkirtseff was a prominent Ukrainian artist and diarist of the 19th century. Although her life was tragically abbreviated at the age of 25, she left an indelible mark on European art and literature, becoming the first Ukrainian artist whose work was acquired by the Louvre for its permanent collection. Bashkirtseff was born in 1858 in the village of Havrantsy in the Poltava Governorate, into an affluent aristocratic family. Her father, Konstantin Bashkirtseff, was a provincial leader of the nobility and held the rank of state councillor. Her mother, Maria Babanina, originated from a distinguished family of Kharkiv landowners and Biedlefines. From a young age, Bashkirtseff demonstrated exceptional aptitude, receiving a comprehensive education that included studies in vocal music, the harp, and the piano, alongside fluency in several European languages. However, family happiness did not last long. Due to husband's infidelity and constant scandal, the couple divorced. Initially, her mothers took their children to the estate in the village of Chernagivka. And then the girl turned 12. Her parents finally separated the children. The boy remained with his father, while Maria stayed with her mother. Following their separation, Maria, alongside her mother, aunt, and cousin, departed for foreign lands. This caravan of women traveled to Europe in search of happiness. First came Vienna, followed by Baden-Baden and Geneva. Later, having secured funds from the sale of the estate, the Ukrainian women settled in Nice and subsequently relocated to Paris. Maria dreamt of the opera stage. Possessing a magnificent three-octave voice, she envisioned a brilliant future as an opera singer. However, a severe medical verdict, chronic laryngitis, followed by a diagnosis of consumption, which began to ravage her lungs and induce deafness, shattered those hopes forever. It reveals that Maria made her choice in favor of painting, determined to leave her mark on history if the time ran out. In Paris, where she relocated with her family, the girl entered the Académie Julian, one of the few institutions that accepted women. That year, there were English, Spanish, Swiss, Norwegian, American, and Swedish women, and one Ukrainian, Marie Bashkirtseff. At first, Maria made a blunder. She arrived at Julian's studio accompanied by a housemaid in a tiny puppy wrapped in white furs. Furthermore, she deliberately arrived late for the lesson. No one paid any attention to that. Now that you have come, you must walk. The talent of Marie Bashkirtseff was noticed by the teachers immediately. The artist Rodolphe Julian, who initially conceded her passion in the whim, later admitted, "She truly walks, she possesses willpower, and she is generously gifted." He was particularly impressed by the fact that Marie had no prior professional art education. Already in a year, in January 1879, Marie won a large gold medal at the academic competition, outperforming the senior students and causing considerable envy. Having mastered a 7-year course in just 2 years, she made a successful debut at the Salon with her painting Young Woman Reading. Following her debut at the Salon, Marie became a talking point in the press, and her canvases gained international recognition and sold successfully. In total, she created over 150 canvases, 200 drawings and sketches. The artist sought themes for her famous portrait and changed scenes not only in France, but also in Ukraine, where she returned twice. Despite her long life abroad, Bashkirtseff always grew failed Ukrainian, maintaining an interest in her native culture and art. Bashkirtseff broke stereotypes. She sponsored the first Scandinavian newspapers in Paris, fought for women's right to fame and a career, but at the same time, she remained an elegant fashionista. Her main manifesto was her personal diary, where she narcissistically admired herself and was utterly candid. It was on its pages that she defiantly wrote, "Personally, I no longer look for anyone as a partner, because I believe that men should be accessories in the lives of strong women." In 1884, Marie Bashkirtseff's illness progressed rapidly. By autumn, she could no longer walk standing up and painted her pictures sitting in a wheelchair. Aware of her doom, the artist continued to work hard, striving to leave her mark on art. Unfortunately, on 31st of October 1884, Bashkirtseff passed away into the world beyond, surrounded by her closest ones, her mother, her aunt, and her loyal maid, Rosalie. Mary was buried entirely in white. The dress, the coffin, the flowers, and the carriage with horses were all snow white. At her grave in the Passy Cemetery in Paris, a small chapel was built, where the artist's unfinished painting, Mirror Bearing Women, was placed, alongside her easel and palette. Throughout her life, Marie Bashkirtseff never had real romantic relationships. One of the few special connections was an anonymous correspondence with Guy de Maupassant. The writer was astounded by the intellect, courage, and audacity of the stranger and passionately begged for a meeting, but Marie abruptly cut off this communication. Upon learning of her early death, Maupassant cried out in despair, "She was the only one rose in my life. Whose path I would have strewn with flowers, had I known it would be so bright and so short." Marie remained a rose for him, white, enchanting, flawless, yet with strong, sharp thorns. Marie Bashkirtseff went down in history as the first Ukrainian artist whose work was acquired by the Louvre. Today, her paintings are preserved in museums in France, Ukraine, and other countries. An important legacy of the artist was her diary, 106 handwritten volumes, which after her death astonished the world with their candor. Despite her marvelous editing, the book became a true sensation. Critics compared it to Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Confessions, and the British Prime Minister William Gladstone called the diary one of the most remarkable books of the 19th century. The name of Marie Bashkirtseff is carved upon the immortality sculpture at the Luxembourg Palace, and her short life remained a bright star on the cultural horizon of Ukraine and the whole of Europe. For too long, the achievements of this artist were misattributed to other nations. Even today, global sources frequently classify them as Russian, a misconception stemming from their birth under the Russian Empire, which routinely absorbed regional identities. However, as the international community recognizes their true origins, Ukraine is successfully recovering a legacy long obscured by history. Their brilliance remains permanently etched in culture, bold, vibrant, and fundamentally rooted in Ukraine.